Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of March 4th to March 10th. Now, a quick little disclaimer. This episode is going to have a little bit more background noise. Why? Because it's like 80 degrees in Oklahoma, but at night it gets down to like 50 and 60. It is not warm enough for me to turn on my AC unit, but I like the airflow, the natural airflow going through my house. So my windows are open and I'm not going to shut them to turn on my AC unit for an hour. That's ridiculous. If I could be sitting outside to record this episode, I would totally do that. But not quite the case. So we're too many of you are kind of spoiled to being able to see the chart and then go compare it to your natal chart, which is a good thing. Oh, whenever it comes to the energy of this month, we are in a whole new month. And one of the things that I have done is I have spoken about my new specials for this month. One set of the specials is on a limited basis. And some of you guys, like you hit me up first thing on Friday going, I want that. So the first few of the pre-recorded personalized horoscopes have already been booked. I'm just over 20 still, but not the full 25 anymore. Nobody's booked the month ahead forecast, but that's okay. And then one-on-one sessions are discounted throughout the month of March and April because we got a lot of energy as we go through eclipse season. Pricing for those ranges anywhere between $35 and $95. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go listen to the March month ahead forecast. Listen to the intro. I go over all of the specials in the beginning. Okay. So when it comes to the energy tied to Mercury and Pisces, we're wrapping it up this week. It was a quick transit, 2.5 weeks. But what's funny about in this 2.5 week transit is there's been 3 phases of it. We've had the first 2. The first 2 was Mercury's entry into Pisces coincided with the full moon in Virgo, which Mercury rules. And we become suddenly very, very aware. Something happened, some type of information change, something shifted in the body. We felt something come through that was meant to shift our focus. The second wave was the Mercury, Sun, Saturn triple conjunction. And that happened midweek last week. We had something that got revealed, something that came to light, something involving a responsibility, a role. Some of us took on a new opportunity. Some of us announced certain things. Some of us seen an elder make a certain type of announcement. I've got a great one for that. Mitch McConnell, the senator, during that Mercury Saturn Sun triple conjunction, like he's stepping down from his higher placement in the Senate, and he said he will not be running for re-election. That happened during that time frame. Some of us had something going on with our boss that came to light. Suddenly we found out a certain decision had been made. Some people got promoted, some people got demoted, some people had something happening. And again, midweek it had to do with an elder, a role, a responsibility, authority figures. Because we were in a timeline of shifts, mental shifts, decision-making shifts. And we have another set of those that are going to come through in the third phase of mercurial energy later this week. But I do mean later this week. If you listen to the month ahead forecast, I clearly state somewhere between March 8th and March 12th. I'm giving the 12th due to the human effect. It's not necessary that there's any particular transit of the 12th. We have this whole shift in energy of something that is starting, a new thing coming through, a new opportunity coming through, a new connection, a new routine. I said, if you want to be able to really start something for the long term and you want to build a new habit, you can start to use this energy strategically, especially once Mercury goes into Aries. There is something new that is going to come through, but it is not happening at the first of this week. For some of us, it's going to play through on Friday. For others, it's going to be Saturday, Sunday. For some, it's going to be the following Monday. But there is something about the later part of this week of something coming together that leads to a new beginning. And for many of us, that new energy, that new beginning, that new shift, the new conversation, the new awareness of something we're going to go into something almost blindly. Now, again, this is all happening at the later part of the week. The first part of the week, it's kind of weird. It is kind of weird. And I was meditating on this. I was writing out my notes. I was looking at it as like, there's an eeriness. It's almost like a calm before the storm. The first few days of the week have one set of feelings, but then somewhere between late Wednesday going into Thursday, it goes click, click, click. And we start to turn up the noise. It starts to get a little busier. We start to deal with some tension and some frustrations. And there's a mix as to why I say it really kind of starts Wednesday evening. And it feels like for a lot of people, we are going to start to feel an irritability for some, an excitability for others. We have something that's going to shift into gear, and an action or a reaction will be very, very necessary somewhere between Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. For some of us, what is going to come through, it is going to be a whole new level of something. For some of us, whatever is going to come through, we don't know what it's going to be until we hit to a very specific transit. And when that transit hits, it feels promising, it feels hopeful, but it's not something that we immediately react to. It takes a few days. For some of us, it has to do with the human effect. We accept a position, we accept an opportunity, we accept a meeting, we accept a date, Thursday, Friday. But you're not going to have that meeting. You're not going to have that tender coffee. You're not going to do that thing until Monday, until Sunday. It's not going to happen immediately. So there's this eerie, odd, build-up, anticipated feeling that's going to continue all week. And if you don't know what you're anticipating, if you don't know what's coming, that's going to more likely make people reactive and irritable. Some of what's going to come through could potentially make people argumentative as the week progresses, because again, restless energy. And if you don't know what is starting to shift and starting to change, if you're in this unknown energy, it can make people really bitchy. It can. I don't necessarily wish for that. I don't necessarily hope for that, but I'm being realistic. The first part of the week, though, feels like the calm before the storm. It doesn't feel heavy. It's kind of got an eerie feeling. And we've all been in these situations before. I'm like, I feel like something's about to happen, but it's not right now. How was your day? It was great. How was your day? It was great. It's kind of weird. I know. There's just this energy of like, you feel it. You feel this shift. We feel something coming. We feel like we're about to start something. We feel like something's about to happen. But it's going to take all week before whatever that is really comes into focus. And there is an element to whatever is part of later this week that I do feel like plays into the Mercury retrograde just as much as eclipse season. And that has to do with Mercury's conjunction to Neptune. Now, the thing about Mercury and Pisces, again, this is the deeper detriment. You're not happy here. Takes us a minute longer to wrap our head around things. It takes us a little bit longer to say something, to communicate something, to truly process some type of idea. Anytime we've heard something new these last few days, we have not immediately agreed, okay, let's do that. No, it takes more conversation, more questions, more information. I got to make sure we've got this lined out. I've got to make sure this is right. If this isn't right, it's going to turn into something else. And I don't want it to turn into something else. Like, we have some things that we're trying to put into focus, but it's taking extra effort. That has a lot to do with Mercury and Pisces. The good news is when Mercury leaves, that's not going to be the case anymore. It won't be so slow in the communication. It won't be so slow in the decision-making process. It will be a lot faster, just maybe not as well thought out. and that can lead to other levels of reaction. But when Mercury makes its conjunction to Neptune, I feel like a lot of people are going to have some opportunity that they need a moment to consider. They're going to hear something that is not entirely clear, that it takes time to process. There can be a discovery. For some of us, the discovery is going to be discovering that there's been something else going on, that there has been a lie, that there's been something that's been going on behind our back. If this has to do with our health, there's going to be the discovery of something that didn't make sense before. And we finally get closer to what has gone wrong within the body, what's been impacting our immune system, our lymphatic system, our feet, our GI. For some of us, it has to do with like our eyes, and it has to do with our breathing and stuff like this. Suddenly we have like pain in our shoulders and stuff. Like I said before, we have that joint pain issue. And when Mercury hits its conjunction to Neptune, we can actually get something that will equal relief. So like medicinal for some people. For other people, if you've been feeling like you're in a constant fog these last few weeks, and you have no idea how to move forward from here, Mercury's conjunction to Neptune can be like spiritual guidance. For some people, whatever comes through in Mercury Neptune is going to lead them into something less than savory, a little deceptive, and can really make or break the full aspects of how detrimental eclipse season can be in that Mercury retrograde. Because the thing about Neptune is Neptune does not like to be seen clearly. It likes to move in the shadows. It likes to fog the senses. A lot of times, whenever Neptune is involved with certain types of transits, there can be lies, there can be deception, and there can be vices. There can be things that flood our senses. Some of us can be super compelled to do something to flood our senses. Like, you know what? I think I am going to make these plans to, do this for St. Patrick's Day. Or we're going to do something else that, again, can flood our senses, but maybe more in the imaginative sense. But there is something about the Mercury-Neptune conjunction that I feel like directly impacts elements of the Mercury retrograde and how reactive we're going to become about an upcoming situation. In the moment, we might not react. In the moment, it might feel promising, it might feel hopeful. But there is a reaction that will follow. And for some people, it's going to be a good thing. For other people, not so much. And I know that's kind of vague, and it gets a little cloudy whenever I say that. But as we go through the weekly transits, I'll kind of explain that a little bit more. So let's get into the transits. Let's get into Monday, March 4th. We are going to start this at 8:30 in the morning. Here we go. March 4th, 8:30. Here is the moon. Now, the reason I'm starting this at this time span is because we start Monday with the moon still in Sagittarius, and it's going to go into a square with Neptune, and then it's going to go void. So some of us, we're going to be in a surreal energy to Monday morning. We're going to have like a heavy sleep or a heavy dream energy that when we wake up the next morning, it's just kind of like, did I drink last night? Did I do something last night? Did I take too much cough medicine? Why do I feel this way? It's almost sluggish. We can feel a little sluggish. For some people, we're confused just by how recent events have gone. And again, we're confused in this surreal energy of like, I'm not used to morning routine without so-and-so here. I'm not used to doing this by myself. I'm not used to this mindset. I'm not used to this topic. I'm not used to this situation. Sometimes we're going to be talking to certain people and like they're not connecting. We can't break through a fog. There's a bit of a foggy, hazy, easily confused, not able to run on all of our cylinders type of energy to Monday morning. Because again, the moon will hit this square to Neptune and then it's going to go void. So nothing's happening. And when the moon is going void, like it's hard to get anything started. It's hard to find motivation. It's hard to work through certain things. Some of us will be questioning the effects of something. How are we feeling today? And I don't really know. Well, didn't we try that new medicine? Yeah. And you still don't know how you feel? No. That's odd. We need to talk about that. And whenever it comes to the most part of the day, there is like this lingering after effect energy. And then the other reasons that we're in this lingering energy also has to do with the fact that we're still in the separation of Venus's square to Uranus. This went the most exact Saturday evening going into Sunday morning. So we have like a lingering energy that is kind of playing out from the weekend. And that's again why I'm saying, like, some people it's a little surreal. Because if you had some kind of like breakup in the last week, we had some type of unexpected opportunity or unexpected decision that kind of played out, that now we're in the hangover effect, we're in the aftermath effect, that we just don't know exactly how we feel, and we don't know exactly how we want to respond. Now, there's another energy that starts to play out, and I find this really curious, and this is going on between 2:15 and 2:27 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I've got this at 2:30. And what we have is Mercury goes through a sextile with Uranus. Mercury, again, this is our logical mind. It's in its deeper detriment. We're trying to wrap our head around some things. And I think it's really curious that this goes exact while the moon is at the 29-degree mark of Sagittarius, because this tells me, depending on how the human effect of this plays out in the day, more than likely, if we hear something in the earlier parts of the day, we are aware of something coming to a close, coming to an ending, not going to be a certain way anymore. We're making a shift, we're making a change, but it's like we're learning about another change. Remember, Venus did just have that square to Uranus. So this is like talking to somebody about, oh yeah, this is how my weekend went. I saw my sister, I saw my brother, my boyfriend. We finally decided to call it quits. So-and-so moved out of the house. And it's like communicating the recent unexpected events. For some people, we are going to be aware of something that has just come to an ending. But for other people, and this feels like it more manifests after the moon goes from Sagittarius to Capricorn, that we can start to have certain conversations about what is starting, what is beginning, what we're about to do, this other kind of exciting news. So for some people, again, I feel like it's more likely to happen in the morning time. We learn about things that are coming to a close. But on the flip side, we're also learning about things that are beginning. So again, Mercury-Uranus sextile that goes the most exact between 2:15 and 2:27 p.m. Central Standard Time. The moon is at 29 degrees. I bumped this 1 hour. The moon's in Capricorn. The moon goes into Capricorn at 3:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are aware of something, we get news of something, arriving at something, we know something's about to begin. And now the moon is in the first Saturnian sign. So a lot of what we're going to be doing these next few days, it's time for an awareness. It's time to be productive. It's time to put something in order. It's time to restructure something. But it's not heavy energy. We want to be as productive as possible once the moon goes into Capricorn. And there is a timeline as we go through the moon in Capricorn that starts to give us warning about what's going to make changes. And it's going to come through as we get into Tuesday. After the moon goes into Capricorn, it's not that it's void, it's just there's nothing going on. So we're working through something, we're trying to understand something, we're talking about responsibilities, we're talking about certain shifts, but there's just not a heavy energy after everything's going on. It's surreal. It's the calm before the storm. It's a very interesting energy to be in. Okay. We get into the 5th, and we're going to get this until, oh, there we go. We got this at 9:30, March 5th, 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And the moon in Saturn's sign is going to make a sextile to Saturn. Not heavy energy. It's talking about recent responsibilities, again, talking about something with an elder, talking about something that's required of an authority figure. Some of us are talking about something we're about to do with an authority figure, with an elder. We're talking about the possibility of a future responsibility. And that can be heavy and that can be light. That can be as small as, hey, do you want to get together for Easter? Or that can be as big as, hey, do you want to buy this car? Did you take that opportunity? Like, it's not meant to be heavy, but the things that we're talking about, about our new role, about the responsibilities, about what's going on with our elders, about what the plan is, that's what this energy feels like. Not heavy at all. Moon, sextile, Saturn. Between 11:30 and 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to trine Jupiter. When it comes to the 5th, and once the moon hits these trines with Jupiter and Uranus, this is the first one. And then 12 hours from here, we'll have the second one, because the moon trine Uranus starts literally at midnight. There's something about these trines between Jupiter and Uranus, considering everything is going through their signs. All the other planets are going through Jupiter's sign or Uranus's sign. Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. We have Pluto, we have Saturn, and we have Venus, all in Uranus's sign. We have Saturn, we have the Sun, we have Neptune, and we have Mercury, all in Jupiter's sign. So there is something about Tuesday that can happen anywhere between, and this is going off my time zone again, lunchtime and midnight hours, where we get the inkling of something that's about to come through, about to change. There's something supportive. There's something productive. The moon is in an earth sign. Jupiter and Uranus are in earth signs, but this is the first one, so we're just talking about Jupiter. There can be a lot of like different energies towards an understanding, towards some type of support. We need support from a guru. We're getting something from the doctor. We're hearing something from the teacher. We're telling something to the teacher about the teacher. There can be a lot of things around teachers. I think that's been very interesting in my local news anyways, of the things that have kind of come out in that area lately. There can be something again about responsibility, about where the shifts are going and where some of the things are about to take us, but they haven't taken us there quite yet. There's some type of understanding, responsible understanding, productive understanding with the moon's trine to Jupiter. Okay. Moving this along, between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to sextile the sun. The moon just made a trine to Jupiter. This is happening later in the evening, and it's happening before the trine with Uranus. So there's some extra type of like awareness, some type of identification, some type of information. We're telling somebody how we feel. We're talking to somebody about recent decisions. We're discussing, again, a future intention of something we're about to do. We can start to feel some of the angst and excitement that's kind of coming through. We can start to put something together as to what we're about to make a change in doing, but not necessarily are we doing a change in this moment. It's more along the lines of an awareness. The only time I could feel like any part of this might be, a little bit blindsiding and a little bit heavy is if you're an Aries or an Aquarius rising, because we have stuff going through 12th house. But aside from that, this doesn't feel heavy. This does feel like an awareness to something that's about to come through, that's about to happen, that's about to begin. So we're in a build-up stage. It's an interesting placement. It's interesting energy. I feel like we're really going to be in the moments and be like, wow, it's eerily calm. The second trine between the moon and now Uranus. Now, again, this technically starts on Wednesday. It is the most exact between 12:30 and 2:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, just after midnight. But the human effect is, some of us are going to be feeling this on the later parts of Tuesday. And again, we have so much energy that's starting to build in regards to the connections to Uranus. There's some kind of support, there's some type of awareness, there's some type of information, there's something that's kind of unexpected, something that can be a little bit exciting, something that's a little bit surprising. In this moment, is it meant to be heavy? No, it's meant to be helpful. It's meant to be supportive. It's meant to make an awareness. But this awareness, again, comes at a bit of a cost because we have Mars and the energy with its square to Uranus starting to build. So we can learn something on Tuesday, the human effect, Tuesday evening or early on Wednesday morning. We can learn something that, again, we can't act upon yet. But it kind of brings up that irritability. It kind of brings up that excitability. It kind of stirs some things inside. It has a bit of an internalized energy, as much as there can be something unexpectedly coming through, that unexpected DM, that communication. You can be doing something on YouTube, binge watching something, and you suddenly get some level of inspiration going, I never thought of that. Never thought about that way to do my garden beds, just as an example. I'm in garden bed mode right now, so I apologize. Like, I never thought about that way to do my garden beds. Oh, I never saw that kind of paint color before. Oh, I didn't know that you could do that kind of thing. And again, there's not a heaviness here, but for many, many people, there is something about Tuesday, somewhere between lunchtime and the midnight time frame, that gives us an inkling, an idea, an awareness, a glimpse of what's going to come through this weekend. We hear something. And for some of us, whatever we're hearing can start to instigate that level of like building irritability, where we go from the eeriness to like, I can feel it. I know we're about to make this change. I know what's about to happen. I know something's coming. And we start to work it in a little bit more. We start to feel it in our body a little bit more. And we really get into feeling that as we get into the bigger parts of Wednesday. I do still feel like even with Wednesday, we're feeling the change. We're not necessarily doing anything yet. Now, when it comes to Wednesday, getting into the morning time now, the moon is going to sextile Mercury. So here's the moon, 22 degrees. Here's Mercury, 22 degrees. You can see the little sextile. The moon is in Saturn sign, so we have a little bit more groundedness to us. Even though our logical brain is not grounded at all, we can feel a little bit more grounded in our emotions. So this is another reason why I'm feeling like when the moon's going through Capricorn, I don't feel like a whole lot of things is going on, but I do feel like we're feeling it. So if you can be as productive as possible these few days, do it. Do that thing that can get you ahead of where you need to be. There's something about a grind in the energy for sure. But again, nothing heavy. With the moon sextile to Mercury, there can be an emphasis on questioning, but not questioning in the bad sense. Like, hey, can we talk about something later? Hey, can we talk about this? And they might say, can we do it later? Like, we still have this energy that talks about future intention. Some people are going to be talking about the idea of travel and the idea of a future travel plan, a future situation. There is something very much about this energy that does not feel like it's in the moment. Or this check-in is like, hey, did you get that thing done last week? Oh, no, I haven't been able to do it yet. Oh, no, I didn't have that conversation yet. Oh, no, I didn't do it yet. So there can still be levels of questioning about information, about the plans, about the strategy, about what's going on, but we don't have a clear presence yet. Some people were talking about the future intention. Some people with the moon sextile to Mercury were getting the reminder because, again, Mercury has not been quick to make decisions. Sometimes we need a little bit of a reminder. Hey, did you do that thing? Oh, no, not yet. I'll get it done today. Okay, well, we need it. Just be patient with people, especially in their customer service areas. Trust me on that. Okay. When we get closer to lunchtime, the moon is going to hit a sextile to Neptune. And this is where we might be able to talk a little bit more about like what's bothering us, about a fogginess. We can talk a little bit more about something that we were wanting to do in regards to like an activity or an action. I've got this at 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here is the moon. Here is Neptune, a little bitty sextile between the two. I'm really grateful for the moon in Capricorn right now because I feel like a lot of people are going to be a little bit more grounded compared to where they have been going through the energy since the full moon in Virgo. Like there is something very grounded to this energy. And we can have this conversation about something that's been affecting us, something that's been bothering us. We can talk about the imagination and some level of creativity of something that we want to do, something that we are, enthralled by, something that has captured our emotions or in our attention. Not necessarily that we've acted upon it yet, but we can start to talk about something that we want to create. Not heavy energy, does not have to be heavy at all. So I want to be super clear about that. We can also talk about something that's kind of been confusing. Again, talking about how something has made us feel, how we are feeling. I know I didn't say that right. I'm sorry. Give me a break. Mercury's in Pisces, and it's been dancing on my moon this weekend, my natal moon. So a lot of download energy. But with this moon sextile to Neptune, we're looking at something that we want to create. We're talking about how something has made us feel. We're talking about how the effects of something have been. We're talking about whether we believe something or not. Like there is something very real and grounded to this energy. But again, we're not reacting to anything. We're not doing anything. And I don't feel like we actually start to make the shift into what we're going to be doing, or even the awareness of how we're going to do something until we get into the evening time. So I'm going to fast forward this. We're going to get into around 8:30, 9:30. After the moon sextile to Neptune, the moon's going void. Not a whole lot going on. At 6:39 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon's going to go into Aquarius. And immediately upon the moon going into Aquarius, it starts a conjunction with Pluto. That conjunction goes the most exact between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I've got this at 9:30. Here's the moon's conjunction to Pluto. We can come to terms with something, of something that we want to change, of something that we want to transform. We can arrive somewhere and run into somebody unexpectedly that's a little bit triggering. There can be something that gets very much tied to fear. I don't feel like fear is going to be a big thing for everybody, but there's a possibility. And even if that moment, whenever you run into that person that it triggers you, you still don't always all necessarily have the ability to voice it. It almost feels like we freeze a little bit if that's the case. Other people were going to discover something in regards to personal power, discover something that can be very influential. Some of us are going to discover how something has changed, or we're going to confirm something has changed. Some of us are going to be taking a lot of ownership in the moment. Oh yeah, I'm not the same person. I'm different. I come with a warning label. Ironically enough, my shirt has a warning label on it today. No. And some of us, we're going to acknowledge the changes we see in another person and be able to say, that's fantastic. I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. You're doing this thing. It's so great. The moon's conjunction to Pluto doesn't have to be heavy. Some people will be voicing something that has recently occurred, but it would be recent. Some of us are going to be experiencing something very, very new with the moon's conjunction to Pluto, because now that Pluto's at 1 degree, Pluto is in a different area of the sky. Pluto ain't been here in a couple hundred years. I'm not doing exact math right now, obviously. So some of the things that we want to change and some of the changes that are being triggered, these are new triggers. And remember now, with the nodes being at 15 degrees, we are shifting into the new focus as to where we're going to experience changes in eclipse season. This right here can be the acceptance. It can be the meeting. It can be the greeting. It can be something that has to do with where we're about to make changes, confirming a change, accepting somebody else's change, and going from there. Doesn't have to be heavy. I don't feel like it's heavy. I kind of like it, but I'm a Plutonian ruled person, being a Scorpio rising. So give me all that energy. Okay. The 7th, we're getting into the 7th now, between 2 and 4 p.m. So we're getting this into the afternoon. The moon in Aquarius is going to square Jupiter at 12 degrees. So here's the moon square to Jupiter. And this is where I start to feel like we get the first inklings of how something's going to go. But even with this energy, the questioning, the push, the wanting of something, we don't necessarily know how we feel in the moment. We're not entirely clear. And the reason I feel like that's going to be the case is because while the moon is in the square to Jupiter, Mercury, the ruler of our logical mind, in Pisces, is starting its conjunction to Neptune. There can be a questioning of something, a questioning of faith, a questioning of a lesson, a questioning of certain information, a questioning of the doctor, a questioning of the guru. There can be a push of something that in the moment, it either leaves us feeling more confused, creates more confusion, creates some kind of bewilderment, or it's going to completely enthrall our senses. It's going to be something that we want to submerge ourselves into. I want to experience this. And that really kind of comes down to how you've been dealing with Mercury and Neptune. I said that wrong. With Mercury and Pisces. How has the last week and a half, almost 2 weeks now at this point on March 7th, how have you been doing since Mercury has entered Pisces? Where's our energy been? Where's our head been? Have you been okay? Have you been able to work through things? Have you become more aware of something in your body? People that are going through the medical aspects, and more of you have messaged me about how Mercury in Pisces has not been fun for you medically, and I'm so sorry for you guys. This right here could be where we get the news from the doctor. It can be the starting energies of the news from the doctor that's going to lead to actions. This can be the starting energy of how we deal with something with a teacher, with the guru, how we start to change something in the system. And there can be a medicinal aspect, but there can also be something that can be not so helpful and not so hopeful. We can feel hopeful. We can feel something that could be really promising because it sounds so good. On paper, it looks amazing. But then once we get closer to the Mercury conjunction to Neptune, we could be agreeing to something that we do not fully understand. And I want people, when we get to Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, to really be aware. Cross all your I's, dot all your T's, read all that paperwork, go look at the reviews, Google whatever you need to. You need to get extra eyes on whatever you're looking at, whatever you're agreeing to. If we're doing something with an automobile, again, don't necessarily trust the first mechanic. Go ahead and take it and get a second opinion. Like, we need additional eyes on the situation so that way you don't fall into a trap. We don't want these kinds of things because Mercury and Neptune can be deceptive for some people. It can lead to what sounds like a promising opportunity. You know, we're going to buy our first crypto coin, but we're not buying one of the mainstream ones that have been out for a while. No, we're going to buy into this brand new one we've never heard of before and come to find out it's a Ponzi scheme. We're going to find out in this moment. No, you'll find out later. But trust me, we don't want to jump into anything that we are not able to double check, triple check, get other people's input about, proven results, not just the results of what your buddy's giving you, proven results that can be fact checked in a whole different way. We need to do the extra elements to make sure we're not signing off or agreeing to something after this moment that we are going to come to regret later. But there can be an opportunity here that kind of sounds too good to be true. And that's a big possibility. And I want you guys to be very, very aware of this. Now, if you're talking to somebody like in the magical sense, the guru sense, you're questioning a teacher, that's one thing. You're questioning a doctor, that's another thing. But if you're looking at the idea of like, I'm going to make all of this money by investing these $500 in this coin, don't do that. Please don't do that. Trust me. Okay. After the moon square to Jupiter, there's nothing else to Thursday. Everything else is building. Mercury's conjunction to Neptune is building. Mars' square to Uranus is building. And because of Mars' square to Uranus, there can be this level of excitement that we want to take in action. But again, there's some element of it we are not seeing clearly. And I want to be absolute about that. After we get into Friday, literally midnight. So get this right here. Here we get into Friday, March 8th, 12:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. The moon is going to make a conjunction to Mars. This goes the most exact between 12 and 2 a.m. We can be really excited about something. It really kind of comes down to what has just presented itself. What is starting to flood our senses? What are we looking at the idea of creating? What opportunity is there? What promise of something better and something grand and something great is starting to take shape? The communication that is finally being had, that is starting to come through, some level of it can be exciting. With the moon's conjunction to Mars. But the other level of that can be frustrating and irritable and combative. And this is where I want you to be aware of other people's energies. You could be vibing all week, thinking, yeah, we're about to do this thing. Yeah, we're starting the new job next week. Yeah, it's so great. Some of us, whenever we're getting questioned with the Mercury's conjunction to Neptune, we're getting questioned about it. Like, I don't know yet because I haven't done the job yet. I haven't started it yet. And that's not a terrible thing. But we can also run into someone who's not doing well in this energy. And I feel like we're more likely to run into that type of situation as we get into the late part of Thursday going into Friday. And with the moon's conjunction to Mars, we can discover a fight. We can discover or be in a situation. Sometimes we're out at karaoke or something like that. We're out at the bar and there's that fight across the bar. There's that fight in the parking lot. You're at the gas station and you can hear the combative energy going on. There can be something that is extremely irritable that is discovered with the moon's conjunction to Mars. For other people, there's a connection of excitement, pivotal disruption, that we're about to take on this opportunity. We're about to do something. We're about to take an action that's going to be helpful, that's meant to be exciting, that's meant to be fun. For some people, what starts to unfold as we go into Friday, and again, this is perfecting right after midnight. So for some people, the human effect is this is happening late Thursday. But whenever it comes to the exactness of the transit, it's technically Friday. We can either discover the irritability, the combativeness, the fieriness. We can discover something that is burning, and I hate that aspect. The more Mars transits and the more we start to get into some of the Aries transits, we're going to run into more things that literally tie to fires and burning and melting, just to be clear. But for other people, we're going to confirm an action. Some of us, we are very aware that we are about to take a step. We're about to do something different, that the activity is about to step up a notch. And how this is manifesting in your personal life is going to vary for everybody. And for some of you, we are vibing and you're still going to run into some level of irritability. You're going to run into somebody else that wants to have an argument. You're going to be posting something online and all of a sudden everybody has a whole different level of an opinion once you talk to somebody on the internet. Anyways, right after the moon's conjunction to Mars, the moon will square Uranus. Now, this goes the most exact between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Central Standard Time. Some of us are not going to be getting a whole lot of sleep Thursday going into Friday. Our energy is going to be super high. We are going to be super like vibrating type thing. And some of this can manifest with the moon's energy here, very internal, of again, wanting to confirm an action, confirm that we're about to do something. Some of us could be thinking of the discussions that we need to have later in the day to come to terms with something. So it's kind of a mixed bag of energy. And it really kind of comes down to, if you're not dealing with something in this moment, you might just be feeling super restless all night, excited and restless and hopeful. Other people are going to be irritable and frustrated, and their head is going to be spinning in a negative sense. And I hate that. But I feel like a lot of people can be getting grabbed by this energy in a negative sense. Not everybody. If you are aware it's coming, you're less likely to be that reactive, but that makes you more aware to be aware of your surroundings. Okay. When we get to the morning, between 9 a.m. and 9:12 a.m., so I'm just going to put this at 9:30, Mercury and Neptune will have their exact conjunction. Again, we can be wanting to take an action. We can be feeling something that's coming through. We can be feeling something building up, but you want to be extra clear on what you're doing. We are more susceptible to the snake oil salesman. We are more susceptible to something coming through, to being taken advantage of. Are we all in that energy? No. Some of us are going to finally have a certain type of connection or a commitment. Some of us are going to finally get the diagnosis of something. We're going to find out what's been going wrong in the body. And it's going to let us know how we need to proceed from here, how we do treatments from here. Some of us, it's not going to be about the treatments. It's not going to necessarily be about the body. It's going to have to do with the spiritual and the woo-woo. And if you are meeting with a reader for the first time, if you're meeting with somebody like me, this is a hellacious energy for that. But again, make sure that it's a highly recommended person, making sure that it's somebody that you are trusting, that you've seen their work, or you know the right people that have seen their work. If it's your buddy that says, yeah, I'm going to buy into this brand new crypto, do not do that. Oh my God, I cannot emphasize that one enough. I feel like we're going to feel or hear something tied to inflation, tied to money, tied to the banks. I feel like there's going to be something very financial that kind of hits in this Mercury Neptune thing too, but that's going to be big picture things. So that's why I keep warning about, like, do not go out and sign for a brand new car this day that you don't know how you're going to pay for, because there is going to be that level of susceptibility. But the exact Mercury Neptune conjunction that has been building happens right here. We can have very emotional, spiritual like conversations, but we can also be having, our first experience with, a guru or a mystic or a medicine woman. You can have your first thing with a reader. You can start to see the mental shift of how more people want to have certain things going on. You can have the things tied to medicine. And there is something that can be promising. Hold on. There is something that can be promising, and that comes through exact as we get into the afternoon. And that's whenever the moon makes its conjunction to Venus. So we have that right here. Okay. There will be certain things that are going on in the big picture. If you know somebody that's trying to do the financial stuff, I'm harping on that really hardcore. I don't want people like buying things and signing off on things that they don't need to sign off on. I want people to be clear-headed. However, there's so much excitability in the air, not everybody's going to be clear-headed. There can also be so much frustration in the air that we also have something that floods our senses, floods our mind, that's not real or not true. And whenever Venus makes that conjunction to the moon, it should be something that is really helpful. very confirming, very, very real. Venus again is in mutual reception with Uranus. And Mars is now entering the square. Some elements of what is coming through this week can again feed from the previous weeks. There could have been something that was announced in the Venus Uranus square. So those first few days of March that again, people are acting upon with Mars's square to Uranus. For other people, there was an opportunity, something that happened out of the box that now we're coming to the next phase of it. And if you do, you just need to be making sure you're asking all the right questions. That's the biggest thing that I can see. Make sure you are crossing your I's and dotting your T's. I cannot be clear about this enough. When we start hitting all these conjunctions to Neptune, we can be making some very, very blind agreements that we shouldn't be making. So be ultra, ultra aware of this energy. You can use it strategically. It doesn't have to be the worst for everybody. There is something that is very, very confirming and helpful with the moon's conjunction to Venus. And again, I do feel like a lot of people are going to have a lot of excitement in their energy after the moon Venus conjunction, because the moon's going to go void after this. So that's like whatever we are dealing with going through this day, like we're ending the day feeling really, really good, feeling like we've made the right decision, feeling like we're going to take on a certain type of action or an activity, feeling like we're going into something. But I just know the human effect is not everybody is going into the best direction. I know. I'm sorry. I'm just being real. So be ultra aware of what you're going into, of where we're going with things, and make sure you're just asking all the right questions. That's the best way to safeguard yourself. We're all going into different energies, but whenever it comes to business stuff and investment stuff, people need to be ultra clear about what they're getting into going into the later part of this week. Okay. Again, after the moon's conjunction to Venus, the moon's going to go void. That goes the most exact between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then the moon's going to go into Pisces. That happens at 7:04 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we start moving closer to the new moon. The new moon will not happen until early Sunday morning. There's an energy of the entire weekend that feels like new beginnings and new things coming through. For some people, it's emotional new beginnings. For other people, there's a reactiveness to it. For some people, the reactiveness has to do with the emotions. It really kind of comes down to how this Mars-Uranus square activates for people. And it's not exact on the 8th, so we're going to keep this going. The moon is in Pisces. We're going to really start dealing with certain things in regards to emotions. We're going to be feeling certain things. We're going to feel, for some people, really, really hopeful. For other people, like things are being really helpful, like things are finally falling into place. There's a bit of an oozing kind of feeling. And we have a lot of things that we're just kind of coming to terms with. After the moon goes into Pisces, we get into Saturday, of course, and between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, that's when the moon is going to make its conjunction to Saturn. There's not a whole lot going on after the moon goes into Pisces until this point. Again, Saturn is our elders. It is our authority figures. This is happening over the weekend. Sometimes we are the authority figure and we are talking about a responsibility that we're going to take. This does not have to be a heavy energy, but considering we're getting closer to the new moon, there can be a level of like acceptance of certain things. So yeah, I'll cook that for the holiday dinner, using that as an example, accepting that, oh yeah, I will have that meeting. Or we're telling our elders we're taking on this new job. We're taking on this new energy. We're about to start this next week. Some of us, we're talking about our new role and our responsibility, but there's like this acceptance level to the energy, considering as the moon goes through its conjunction to Saturn in Jupiter's sign, it will also go through a sextile to Jupiter. So there's a lot of energy tied to like acceptance, taking on new responsibility, talking about and expressing the responsibility, making other people aware of it. All of this energy is very much happening in Jupiter's sign, and that moon's going to make that sextile to Jupiter. So there is just this awareness of hope and faith and spirituality and the medicine and what the doctor said, and seeing how it takes effect. Some of us are going to be asking Grandpa, how are you feeling on this new medicine? Are you feeling okay today? Yeah. I'm feeling better today. I don't really feel any pain. I don't really feel the same way I did, a week or two ago. Like, I'm feeling a bit better. Like, okay, that's great. I want you to feel better, Grandpa. So this does not have to feel very, very heavy. It can just be like a meeting with the elder, a meeting with the authority figure. If it's an authority figure type thing on the weekend, like it could be like you're going to, kids' spring sports events, their basketball game, the hockey game, the soccer game, whatever we're starting to do. And it's like that first meeting with the coach for the spring sessions and stuff like that. That level of like meeting with an authority figure, but not meaning to be heavy. I don't feel like it's going to be heavy for a lot of people. Okay. After the conjunction with Saturn, sextile with Jupiter again, helpful energy, hopeful energy. We're going to keep this going. And when it comes to the afternoon, I want to get this to 4:30. There's something really interesting going on. And these go exact simultaneously. So from 4:30 to 5 p.m., this is when Mars is squaring Uranus exact. From 4:42 to 5:05. So I'm not moving this. It's exact. It's going into the exact hour. The sun will also be in a sextile to Uranus. There is something about this energy right here that, again, an action, an activity, a reaction, a fieriness. Some of us know we're about to take on a new energy. Some of us know we are wrapping something up. This really kind of comes down to how these things are playing out. Some of us might be dealing with mixtures of both. If we're leaving something behind, I don't necessarily know that it's a whole heavy lot of energy of leaving things behind. We've probably been dealing with something we're in the process of leaving behind for a while. But these are happening, the square from Uranus and Mars, the sextile of the sun and Uranus. This is happening while Mercury is at 29 degrees of Pisces. We are very, very aware that something is shifting. We can feel it all around us. And for some people, this is exciting. For other people, there can be something that comes through, an action or an activity that immediately results in our awareness of something else. And again, this is going to kind of come down to how this is manifesting for you. For some people, this upcoming weekend, you're going to be more feeling the new moon. You're going to be feeling everything in Pisces, and that's going to be very, very helpful. For other people, especially like fixed sign energies, your Taurus risings, your Leo risings, your Scorpio risings, your Aquarius risings, Mars' square to Uranus can be combative. And it can be argumentative. If you are a cardinal sign, so if you're an Aries rising, a Cancer rising, a Libra rising, or a Capricorn rising, there can be something that gets spoken about, an emotional conversation, an emotional situation, some type of activity that is going to lead to an action that you guys will be having to deal with, that will lead to some type of arrival that you guys will be dealing with. And that arrival, based off of the human effect, is set to be part of the weekend. And for a lot of people, the arrival of the new situation, the new person, it goes the most exact, the 10th and the 11th. But the human effect is this entire weekend is a culmination of something new coming through. But whenever Mars hits this square to Uranus, Mercury's still at the 29 degree mark. So this right here can be a push for independence, an act towards independence. I'm sick of you acting this way. I'm sick of you treating me this way. I'm sick of you doing this. I've been dealing with your shit all week. And a sudden act or reaction, a sudden push can be directly what impacts Mercury's entry into Aries. Because again, Aries is ruled by Mars. All of us will feel the weekend. But however things are unfolding, Saturday really makes the difference. This is the one that where Mars square Uranus is the most exact, but to be honest, we've been feeling the buildup towards it all week. We will be continuing to feel the buildup as we go into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Mars being a slower moving energy, it takes a little bit longer for this one to like pan out. So again, we've had this angst and anxiety type energy or this exciting type energy kind of building up all week. And this right here is whenever it comes to a peak. And some of us, whatever comes to a peak, we might not be the one reacting. But with the sun being in that sextile to Uranus, we might be aware. Like we might be in the bomb radius. We might be the spectator. Some of us, we're going to be the one that gets pushed out of the way. We're pushing for freedom. We're the one being pushed out of the door. We are the one that is leaving. Because again, Mercury is at 29 degrees. For other people, we are talking about the excitement and we're celebrating, we're doing something that is about to happen. It's a very mixed bag of energy next weekend. We're all going to be in different stages. Okay. Simultaneously, while this is going on, I mean, this is whenever the moon is in that sextile to Jupiter. So there's so much awareness, and there can be something that is like coming through around this time that is not just affecting one person. So this is why I was kind of using like that sports analogy of like, if you're going to, you know, the spring sport, spring t-ball, spring soccer, spring something, you're meeting your new coach, but you're also meeting your team and you're trying your first practice. And it could be something along this line, you know, with kids and stuff like that. But not all of us have kids and not all of us are doing the spring practice. And we can run into other situations. There can be a lot of activity next weekend that can result in something being a lot more explosive. And I absolutely hate saying that, but I'm being very, very honest. Okay. There can be a volatility to the middle afternoon between the moon sextile to Jupiter, Mars is square to Uranus, and the sun sextile to Uranus, because these are all happening simultaneously, and they are the most felt between 4:30 p.m. and 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is a lot. And how it manifests for everybody is going to be different for everybody. Okay. After this goes the most exact, it's not that the moon is void, but there's not a whole lot going on. However, what does start to change, there's one last transit to the evening, and we might not all feel this. We might not all be aware of this. It really kind of comes down to how this Mars-Uranus square is panning out. At 10:03 p.m. Central Standard Time, so I've got this at 10:30 because you guys know I don't move this by minute. That's when Mercury is going to go into Aries. Mars and Uranus' square is still active. The sun's sextile to Uranus is still active. There is something about the Mars-Uranus square that directly impacts the awareness of something, the mental change, the mental focus. And for some people, the human effect is we are going to learn something very, very exciting or unexpected. We're going to hear about something really, really good or really, really bad. I don't know how this one's going to go for everybody. Saturday, that it becomes the topic of conversation as soon as Mercury goes into Aries. For other people, this is going to be an unexpected arrival of something or someone, unexpected communication, and it can be a little combative and a little frustrating. But there's something, again, that speaks to an arrival. And that Mars-Uranus square directly impacts this. So pay attention to what Aries rules in your chart, because this Mars-Uranus square is speaking to that. And it's letting us know some of the things, again, as to where things will be pushing into new change as we go into eclipse season. Okay. Since Mercury is going into Aries so late, I don't know that we're all going to be dealing with this at the same time. I feel like a lot of us are actually going to be dealing with this as we go into the next day. Speaking of the next day, we have the new moon. And it goes exact at 4 a.m. Central Standard Time, exact 4 a.m. I've got this at 4:30. Here's the moon, here's the sun, here's the new moon. This new moon is in a sextile to Uranus. Mars is still in a square to Uranus. The activity of next weekend speaks to the new arrival and the new beginning, because we had just had Mercury change signs and now we have a new moon. There are new things coming going into next weekend. And for some of us, we don't know what is going to result in bringing that new energy until we get to next weekend. For other people, we've got a lot more of a warning. It really kind of comes down to how Mercury in Pisces was going for you. Once it's out of Pisces, our mental energy is going to pick back up. We're going to be feeling a whole lot better. And there is a new focus that is coming through, a new awareness, a new focus going into next weekend. It's hard to pinpoint that for everybody, but it is new. Okay. So the new moon, again, is the most exact at 4 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I will do a new moon video later this week. Again, this new moon is in a sextile to Uranus. So if you want more of an idea of where some of this energy can be, go back and look at what was going on for the last two new moons. That new moon in Aquarius was squaring Uranus. That new moon in Capricorn was in a trine to Uranus. Like, each of these new moons have had some type of aspecting to Uranus that has been building into the energy that we're going into with this new moon. And this will be the last lunation before eclipse season. So new, definitely involved. Okay. Moving this along. We get into the afternoon. The moon is going to make a conjunction to Neptune. That goes the most exact between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So here we are, March 10th, 2:30 p.m. Here is the moon. Here is Neptune. They're getting really, really close at this moment. We have this conjunction energy, and this can be where we talk about the effects of something. We talk about this thing that we didn't know. We can learn something that we didn't know. We can have something that can be very, very surprising. We can have this turn in events that kind of like floods the senses. There could be something that is emotionally confusing. Given we are still in the new moon energy, like some of the new things that are shifting into place, not all of them have shifted into place quite yet. So be aware of that type of thing. We are aware that one element has started, but we're not aware of all of the elements that have just started, because we are still dealing with the fact that this is the last day of Venus going through Aquarius. So we're not completely aware of everything. And there can be elements of confusion as we get to this point. There can also be elements of nostalgia. And that's a little bit lighter of an energy. If you do have kids that are starting their sporting events, I'm just going to go with this continued example of like, okay, I'm going to show you how to throw. This is how my dad taught me. This is how my mom taught me. This is how my brother, my sister, my aunt, my uncle, this is how so-and-so taught me how to throw. Oh, let me show you how I learned to kick the ball. Let me show you this thing. And there can be this little bit of like nostalgia, fun energy in the moment. And that's a more proactive way to deal with, Mars is square to Uranus. We're going to have a lot of energy. So getting outside and doing something in the yard, kicking around the soccer ball, throwing around something, doing an activity would be a good way to get the energy out. Some people will be reactive in a whole different way because we can hear something and be like, you're lying. Even if they aren't lying, like we can be flooded with the senses that somebody is lying. And we could still be in that reactive energy. So I want to be clear about this. Not everybody's out of the boat of the reactive energy. We still in it. We can still be feeling it. Some people can still be dealing with things. And this right here can also speak to whatever happened during the Mercury-Neptune conjunction we just had. So-and-so said you said this. So-and-so was talking like this. So-and-so da-da-da-da-da-da. So-and-so got a big mouth. After the moon's conjunction to Neptune, the moon goes void. whatever we are trying to do to flood our senses, that's a good way to do it. If you can be the proactive person in the garden, in the backyard with your kids, if you can do something like that, that's the best way to handle this energy. And that'll get you through most of the day. Whenever we get into the evening time, the moon will enter Aries at 7:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I've got this at 7:30. Here's the moon, newly in Aries. The moon is going to come into this conjunction with Mercury while Mercury is in the sextile to Pluto. I said earlier this week that whenever the moon hits the conjunction to Pluto, there's some kind of confirmation in there. Confirmation of something we want to change, seeing somebody in their power, seeing somebody that has had a change. And for some people, there was confirmation. For other people, it was just an awareness of one element. But then there's something that speaks to it even further once the moon and Mercury hit their conjunction in the sextile to Pluto. That's going to go exact midday on the 10th. I actually didn't calculate that. I just realized I missed that. You guys get to see when Dusty does stupid stuff. That goes the most exact between 5:15 and 5:30 on the 10th. So here's Mercury, 1 degree, 28 minutes. Here's Pluto. That can again still speak to the nostalgia thing. That can also speak to, being aware of some of the things that have recently transformed and changed, and how we take those changes and move from here, how we take said situations and move them from here. Considering Pluto is direct and Mercury is direct, there is something very much about the awareness of how we go from here. And again, this is the last of Venus and Aquarius. When we get into the 11th, Venus is going to go into Pisces. I'll bump that by a day just to show you. Yeah. Here's the 11th. Venus is in Pisces. So we are very much in awareness of something new, something going to the next level, something hitting a new range. And it's really hard to pinpoint for everybody because so much of the energy is going into new. And right now with Mercury in Pisces, the way that it is, it's hard to wrap our head around everything. It's hard to be able to focus on everything, but we are aware of a change. And as we go through parts of this week, I'm telling you, it's going to feel like the calm before the storm. It's going to have a surreal, kind of eerie, odd little feeling. But then once we get to the weekend, it's going to be different. And for some of us, we know we're going into a shift. We're in tune with this energy. We are taking ownership of the things that we want to do. We know what we are trying to manifest. We know the opportunity that we are taking on. And whenever we get to the weekend energy, can some things still be a surprise? Absolutely. But is that going to derail us? Hell no. For some people, whatever starts to come through unexpectedly speaks into what we are manifesting. We're just waiting for the transit to catch up. I'm just waiting for the energy to catch up with me, baby. I'm waiting. For other people, there's proactive ways to use the energy. We become very, very aware of something that we want to start doing, that we want to change, an activity or something that we want to do. For some people, Mercury's conjunction to Neptune will be the inspiration of how we're going to take an activity going on to this weekend. Yeah, I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna completely redo the shed and the garage. We're gonna completely revamp it. Doesn't mean my weekend project. It doesn't mean a positive way to do Mercury and Uranus, because we're gonna be able to proactively use that energy, knowing that once we revamp the space, then we can do something else. There's more space for activities. Don't turn 2 king-size beds into bunk beds. Okay, no stepbrothers energy. But yet there's a stepbrothers energy, and hopefully you guys understand that reference. Leave a comment if you actually understand that reference. If you don't, then we'll have to send you a link. It's a mixed bag. Some of you, you're going to be going through this entire week going, what's changing? Where's it at? Nothing's happening yet. What's going on? I don't know. And you guys are the ones that are going to be more likely to be blindsided. once we get into the weekend. And it might not even still be a blind sighting to you. It might be the in your surroundings thing. You might be the sun in Pisces going, what is going on? And you're like the spectator in the situation. There are mundane things that are going to happen in our daily life whenever we get into next weekend, but then there are going to be big picture, real world things that are going to happen next weekend that are going to really impact people. And again, it's going to shift our awareness into some level of conversation that needs to be had, that needs to be talked about. And when Mercury goes into Aries, that is the that is the start of pop-off season. I mixed start and pop right there and said stop, but it's the start of pop-off season. You have a natal Mercury in a fire sign. Y'all know what pop-off means. You can't keep your mouth shut sometimes. You ain't got much of a filter. Sag Mercuries, Aries Mercuries, you know what I'm talking about. Hell, even if your moon is in those signs, you don't have a good filter. When Mercury goes into Aries, everybody's filter is a little bit clogged. It's a little bit, it's actually not clogged. It's not that at all. Mercury and Aries, that's the clogged. That's a brand new filter. Everything's getting through. You have full airway, everything's happening. You're not having to deal with a whole level of debris. You have a better flow of things. The problem is the filter is not working all that well because everything's coming out. Everything's coming through. There's a big hole in the filter really, really fast. And it's going to take us a few weeks to figure out, like, there's a hole in the filter. Too much shit's coming through. Mercury in Aries starts next weekend. And we will continue that energy for 9 weeks. Now, I plan on doing a Mercury retrograde meditative rant. I do. But I want to get through Mercury Neptune before I do that rant. I want to see something. I want something to get confirmed. Because I firmly believe, even though Mercury and Neptune has absolutely nothing to do with the Mercury retrograde, it does have to do with eclipse season. And since these things are coincided, I feel like whatever can start to manifest and present itself, and the conversations that are being had and the opportunities that are coming through, the new things that are starting to come through. Remember, only so many of the new will be sticking. And that's why I feel like some people will be doing some new things in this energy that we're not thinking through appropriately. They will not stick later. Something will go wrong. We signed a bad contract. We put money into a Ponzi scheme, a pump and dump situation. I hope not. But I feel like there's a big possibility of that kind of stuff for people. But when it comes to the energy of this week, it is each day building into something new, into the next, into something else. And I don't feel like we become aware completely of all of those things and how we're going to change something and how we're going to move forward until we get to that late part of Wednesday and the moon goes into Aquarius. When the moon goes into Uranus's sign, because so much of the energy is around Uranus this week. Mars is square to Uranus is building all week. Whenever Mars hits the square to Uranus exact, the sun will be in a sextile to Uranus. The new moon in Pisces will be in a sextile to Uranus. I feel like up until the moon goes into Aquarius, it's going to be an eerie calm, surreal, productive. If you use it well, you can get some shit done. It'd be great. But not everybody's going to use it productively. Some people are just going to be procrastinators. Like, oh, it'll be fine. I'll get to it later. You're going to regret that. Don't do that. Trust me, don't do that. Okay. Oh, Facebook Lives this week are going to be Monday and Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. That timeline seems to work the best. I'm not doing anything on TikTok this week, not live-wise. Just kind of knowing where everything is going. If you've already booked readings with me, Most of my turnaround time is about 7 to 10 days, but as more of those bookings come through, then they're going to be further out. So if you're wanting to take advantage of those personalized horoscopes, book them sooner rather than later. So that way you can get the full emphasis of whatever is coming through in eclipse season, the Mercury retrograde, and everything else that's coming through, depending on which ones that you want to book. And then my one-on-one sessions are also a few days out as well. So I love and appreciate every single one of you. I'm looking forward to the change. I'm ready for changes, but I've been ready for changes for a long time. Not everybody's ready for change, and I know that. So it is what it is. But I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and I'll talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.